So the shadow business secretary, Jonathan Reynolds, has written to Kemi Badenoch, getting her to publish a series of documents and reassure sub-postmasters and postmistresses that everything is being done to ensure that they receive the compensation they've been promised. He says, prior to yesterday, it was my profound belief that every MP and everyone in Westminster was working on the common goal to exonerate all remaining wrongful convictions and deliver fair compensation to all those affected as quickly as possible. If true, these revelations completely undermine that notion. If there is even the slightest truth to accusations that justice has been obfuscated for political reasons, there must be consequences. I hope that you'll do everything in your gift to provide sub-postmasters with the confidence that they need to know that this was not the case. Of course, what that means is the focus has to be on the sub-postmasters and sub-postmistresses. That's absolutely true. And then we need to find out how Henry Staunton got the idea that he should delay the compensation in order to allow the election not to, in order to allow the government not to limp into the election because of so much money missing in compensation. That idea has to come from somewhere. Maybe it's his idea, in which case there has to be some sort of consequence. If it's not his idea, maybe it's a junior a person in the department, or maybe it is Kemi Badenoch. But the impression given so far by Gillian Keegan is that there's an element of sleight of hand going on and distraction, so that we're now looking at the original letters which were sent to Henry Staunton after he was put in his post, rather than the directions that he was given subsequently, specifically after the airing of the story about the Horizon computer glitch in the new year. So I think I think simply by the initial way in which Kemi Badenoch has approached this, there are big questions to be answered, and her immediate accusation that Mr. Staunton is lying doesn't pan out at the moment, and I think she's going to find herself on very, very thin ice. As for the mobile phone ban in schools, I suppose I should comment on that very quickly. There are many good reasons why a student might have a mobile phone in school, so the idea of banning them completely is an absurd form of control. I think there's also many good reasons why phones should not be in the classroom, and it's balancing those two. And I think the way to do that is to encourage honesty and responsibility among students. But that doesn't seem to be the way that this particular government, and indeed previous governments, have approached education. Our education system is supposed to equip students with the skill set to deal with real life when they leave school. One of those skills is responsibility, reliability is another, and honesty is another one. And this whole idea about where is it appropriate to use a mobile phone, where is it not appropriate to use a mobile phone, that is part of that skill set that needs to be taught. Simply banning mobile phones doesn't help that process. And so certainly in my classes, when I've been teaching in schools of all forms, I've actually encouraged mobile phones as part of the lesson, so that I've asked students to look things up on their mobile phone. I've certainly noticed them. I've noticed people fiddling with mobile phones under the desk. You can always tell, partly because the body language changes, and sometimes because there's actually a light reflected up on the face, on the chin. I mean, it's so unbelievably obvious. If students haven't realized that they can be seen, and when their body language changes, you know they're doing something dodgy or odd. And that is obvious. That is obvious. Students think they're hidden. a teacher can see almost every student in the class, and modern classroom layouts make for a few obstacles, but not many, frankly. And the other thing is, you can tell so much more when a student is sitting with their back to you. Their whole back is sort of pregnant with meaning. And it's the change of body posture which alerts a teacher to the fact that something's going on. You don't necessarily hear what has been said. You don't necessarily see the note that's being passed around. You don't necessarily notice the mobile phone itself, but you notice the fact that something is happening. So there we are. And as for Israel's plan to attack on the first day of Ramadan, that's worrying as well, isn't it? Very worrying. No magic answers to reverse Tory fortunes, says Gillian Keegan. No, Tory fortunes are dead.